there? It's me, Brianna. You are listening to No Limits, a PlayStation podcast. We're going to talk about a lot of fun stuff today. My most exciting is there's been some Rise of the Ronin leaks, so looking forward to that. We'll see you after the intro. Welcome back from the intro. Did you get to listen to it that time, Sam?
I actually did. That's one of the few times that
Yes.
it's actually played where I haven't just been sat in silence. So
Yes. Okay, we love that. Okay.
wait,
Well,
how did you know that?
I didn't. I was just asking because I know it doesn't play for you.
I see. It's just coincidental that the one time you asked is actually the one time it actually played for me.
Yeah.
I didn't know whether you had done something different to what Taylor
No.
normally does, and therefore, but hey.
I mean, to be fair, I am the one that clicked play, so it's coming from a California thing
That is
versus like a Washington thing.
Potentially that makes a difference. That makes less sense because technically California is further away, but not that that has anything to do with it. But if it does, then that wouldn't make any sense.
I don't know.
Nevertheless,
I should have been smarter there. I should have been like, yeah, because I have a camera in your room or something, but I wasn't quick enough.
Yeah.
Oh well. All right. Well, remember you can find the video version of this podcast over on youtube.com/SaveTheGameMedia every Tuesday. While you're over there, please subscribe to the channel. If you would rather listen to audio, we are on all your favorite podcast services and would love it if you could leave us a review. It does help us grow and we love feedback. If you do want to, this is Sam's favorite part. If you do want to support us and get early access to Save the Game Media content, head over to patreon.com/SaveTheGameMedia and choose the tier that works best for you. Now, here's my little spiel. It starts at $1, literally $1. And once we reach 1,000 patrons, so it doesn't have to be a bunch of people giving a ton of money. We're not setting a monetary goal. We're setting the amount of people goal. So spread the word. Get your friends to subscribe to the Patreon. Once we get to 1,000 patrons, Kevin gets his butt tattooed. So we gotta work towards this. So shout out to our current patrons, Bucky Blue, Amon, Fabulous Brianna, Brianna's mom, Brianna's brother, Brianna's wife, Nicola at Night, Cypher Primus, Brendan Myers, Marcus O'Neill, Lillian, Mimi J, The Stack Network, David Hotright, Dave Harp, the Xbox Expansion Pass, and Alpaca Tom. So yeah, patreon.com/SaveTheGameMedia to check it out. You can also interact with us in the Discord. David Hotright just recently joined our Discord. It was really cool. He's like, well, now that Twitter is dying, I'll come hang out over here. Rest in peace. So come hang out in the Discord. The link's everywhere. We link the Discord everywhere. So now that we made it through that, Sam's favorite part of the whole show. What have you been playing recently? What have you been up to? All that fun stuff.
Well, to no one's surprise, it's been mainly Final Fantasy 16. I can't remember what stage I was at last week. I think I said that I had gotten like part way through the second playthrough. Since then, I have finished that playthrough, earned the platinum. I think, as I said last week, I think I need time to digest it a bit more. But I think as time goes on, and technically it's at most like a week of distance from it currently. But even within then, every day I'm thinking about it and sort of reflecting on it, and I'm not souring my opinion. It's strengthening. So I think that given more time, I think it probably will end up being my favorite game of all time.
Okay.
Not because it's perfect or anything, but just because everything that it does very well, and it delivers to me everything that I'm looking for from a game. I'm very much a story first person. I obviously gameplay is still a very key component to that, but I think that the gameplay of Final Fantasy 16 is excellent as well. So it, yes, it might not do RPG as well as technically other Final Fantasies or even just other RPGs in general, but then you get into the thing of like, well, isn't basically every game nowadays RPG because it's got RPG elements and skills and equipment that you can gear and stuff. It's like, well, I think that arguably the game would have been better without that stuff. But then it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like, I think it would have gotten maligned even more by those that wish to, detract from it and its success and sort of praise by saying that those elements weren't there at all and they've been completely abandoned. And I'm going to set the record straight on a couple of things because I think it's worth saying. And it's not copium. I'm not jumping to the defense for no reason. But there have been quite a few people saying things about Final Fantasy 16 that I think are just categorically untrue. Okay. And that, I'm not gonna name any names, but some of them are within the Save the Video community. One of which is that Final Fantasy 16 isn't a Final Fantasy game, and I just think that that's not even that there is not an ounce of truth to that at all. And this is coming from someone who doesn't and hasn't really played any other Final Fantasies really outside of 15 recently. Because even me as an outsider very much knows, and I'm sure that they know as well, but I think that it's a hurdle that they're just not willing to jump over. Final Fantasy has never been a series that rests on its laurels and sticks to one thing. Now, yes, technically, does it remain within one kind of space most of the time? Sure.
Mm-hmm.
But we've seen plenty of iterations, and even ones that I haven't played, but I know are more action-oriented. I know 10-2 was quite action-focused as opposed to 10. I know 13 was kind of making moves in that direction. 15 definitely was, and obviously now 16 is like the epitome of the shift from turn-based to like real-time combat, that kind of thing. I think it has the whimsy and charm that most Final Fantasies seem to have. The strong focus on characters. I think people, are entitled to their opinion. I think that the party, so to speak, of Final Fantasy 16 is as strong as any of them. I think pretty much every main character and plenty of supporting characters are excellently fleshed out and well written and likable, flawed human beings. And then the main thing, because I think that people can argue what Final Fantasy means to them. I think that having that caveat on the end of it means that there's more of a valid argument to be made. But at its core, it is still a Final Fantasy. The other thing, and I think that this is even more untrue, is people saying that Final Fantasy 16's combat is shallow. Like you're just wrong. If you think that, you either aren't far enough into the game, or I'm not trying to attack anyone.
Get good.
Yeah, you're just not using the combat correctly. Because, and I've seen it, particularly over the past few days, actually, there have been, I can't remember what the usernames are, but there are some accounts on Twitter that historically, particularly for PlayStation titles, but just games in general that have like an action focus, they'll do like supercuts and very well transitioning clips. I know they've done some for like Last of Us Part 2. They did some for Forbidden West, Ghost of Tsushima. I'm sure there are others I'm not thinking of, and they've now started over the past couple of days. I've seen them for Final Fantasy 16, and I can attest to it. I've played through it twice. You can do some insane stuff in this game with just basic attacks that you have available to you and the iconic abilities. And it's not even like, even if you don't believe me, the combat designer on Final Fantasy 16 is Ryota Suzuki. He is from Capcom. He is the lead combat guy for Devil May Cry. Devil May Cry is arguably one of the most detailed, complex, high skill ceiling combat systems that there are in games. You have to, it's easy to pick up, but very, 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 very difficult to master. And he himself has said that the combat system in Final Fantasy 16 is his masterpiece. So, like, I don't know that he could say that when Devil May Cry is renowned specifically for its combat and the difficulty of its combat and the complexity of its combat. I don't think he would say that if he didn't believe it, and if there wasn't some shred of truth to it. I think if you go into a battle in Final Fantasy 16 and you're just mashing buttons and using all of your iconic abilities straight away to just chip as much health away as quickly as possible, yeah, it does become repetitive, but there are actually use cases for those abilities that if you use them at the correct times and following other moves, you can really, really build some hefty combos. Not that they ever register as combos, but the things that lead into. Anyway, I just want to set the record straight, because I think that there are some people that are maybe being put off from trying Final Fantasy 16 because of specifically those two things. There are other things that I think are warranted, but those two I think are just incorrect. Like, it is about as Final Fantasy as you can get. It's just in a different skin, which is what Final Fantasy has always been. And the combat is admittedly maybe a little bit basic to begin with, but then that is the same for literally any video game ever. You start off with a relatively basic move set where you often are repeating the same things, but very quickly it opens up. You just have to take advantage of it. So yeah, that's my thing that I wanted to just get out there, because I don't think we would find an opportunity. We sort of had our discussions about Final Fantasy 16 already, so I thought I wanted to just get that out into the world, and hopefully if there is someone listening that maybe was a bit on the fence and a little bit put off by someone saying that the combat is shallow or that it's not really a Final Fantasy-y game, I would argue the complete opposite.
I would argue the opposite as well. I think that, like, people in the Discord like to make fun of me because I've played so much Final Fantasy 14, but I promise I have played other Final Fantasy games as well. And this is definitely a Final Fantasy game. And although I think that I don't think the combat is shallow, but I do think I'm bad at the combat.
Sure.
I can recognize, like, I should probably be chaining these combos, but I'm doing enough damage and I don't really like care. So
yeah.
So I wouldn't say that the combat is shallow, but I would also say that, like, I'm probably not like taking advantage of it. So
that's fine.
But yeah, I do. One thing I really love about the combat, and I think that this is like pulling obviously from Final Fantasy 14. If you've played Final Fantasy 14, when you get to the higher end bosses and raids, they no longer project where abilities are going to hit. Like, when you get to the high end stuff, you just have to know like the boss's dialogue and casting sounds and like movements and stuff like that. And then you have to move out of the way for those abilities. This combat system has something very similar with those bigger fights where they'll say what they're casting and you kind of have to know like how that attack is going to project rather than it showing you where it's going to project. Which is, again, remnant of like a Final Fantasy 14 combat style, and I really enjoy it in the high end raids. So It's what makes the high end raids so hard because you got to memorize where you got to go and stuff. It's fun.
Yeah, I mean the New Game Plus Final Fantasy mode on 16 is a real SOB. Let me tell you, it's
Yeah.
I mean, it was fun. Like, you know, for people that don't know, it's you get access to new weapons. I think this is something that is quite common in other Final Fantasies. Correct me if I'm wrong, Bree, but you get access to like the Ultima weapon,
Oh, yeah. Makes sense.
which I think is a staple.
Yeah.
In
Ultima
in
is a
Final Fantasies.
staple, general.
You get access to that, which is like the best weapon in the game. You have to do very specific things to craft it, which I won't say what they are. And then every single enemy encounter, besides bosses, obviously, are somewhat randomized. So you can kind of get what would typically be in your initial playthrough late game enemies within the first hour of gameplay. So it keeps you on your toes, which is nice. It's not you're just retreading the same thing. So thoroughly worthwhile. I think if you enjoy your first playthrough, I very much recommend going for the New Game Plus playthrough. And you can skip the cutscenes if you want. That's what I did.
Why would I skip Clive?
That is a good question. It's something that I tossed and turned with. I was like, should I be doing this? You know, and Sid, like, why would I want to skip out on Sid?
I
did it.
100%.
I don't feel good about it,
A
Bree,
betrayal. Yeah.
but I did it.
Yeah. It's okay. I'm sure you'll play this game again at some point.
I most certainly will. I think this is the kind of thing I'll go back to, not necessarily every year, but like close to that. I think I could very easily see myself not necessarily like 100% playthrough, but just going for like a basic story run just to dip my toe back into the vibes that this game gives.
Yeah.
Which are immaculate in my opinion.
I'm gonna check the vibe. Yeah.
What have you been playing?
I played a little bit of this on Monday. And then I haven't played any video games since.
Goddamn.
Yeah. I've been watching. Well, I've been really busy this week in general, but I have been watching a little bit more and reading a little bit more than I have been like playing games. So I read Chojin X Volume 2. Chojin X is the manga. It's the new manga from the person who did Tokyo Ghoul, for people who are familiar. Speaking of, I'm so excited about this. This is like so gross, but I got this new bracelet. It's a Tokyo Ghoul bracelet, and I haven't been able to wear it yet, but it is a centipede, which is really gross. But if you watch Tokyo Ghoul, you know. Anyways, or read it. So I read that, and then what else did I read? A lot of manga, like specifically manhwa, but been reading a lot of that and webtoons and stuff. What else have I been doing? Oh, watching anime. The new season is starting up. Watch the first episode of Jujutsu Kaisen season 2. So freaking good. That show is so good. I'm so glad I have a Jujutsu Kaisen tattoo. I love that show so much. Anyways. Finished Oshinoko. I gave it 9.5 out of 10. Finished Skip and Loaf, and gave that a 10 out of 10, and I bought all of the manga. Last thing I watched last night was Robot and Frank. I always want to say Frank and Robot, but I believe it's Robot and Frank.
It is.
Watched that last night. Had a good cry and then went to sleep. It was great.
Cool.
That's what I've been up to. Anyways,
getting a bit of variety in there. That's good.
I do my best, but
it doesn't have to all be about video games, you know.
Yeah, I think my real problem is that, again, we're going back to the same thing. I think I just watch too much TikTok and I don't have enough time to do anything else.
So yeah, when you say you don't have enough time, it's just that
I watch a lot of TikTok.
Yeah. it's already got its hooks in you that you can't be saved.
I could be saved, but do I
You could
want to
just
be
delete the
saved?
app, you know.
I could. That's the thing. I also have a limiter on it, and I just ignore the limiter.
Hope is lost.
It's okay. It's okay. We'll make it eventually. Okay. Are you ready to jump into the news?
Why
Dive
not?
in, swim around in the news? Okay. Let me write down this time code 2029. Okay. So sorry, clicking on the link. I right clicked instead of actually clicked. I don't know why I did that. So we're kind of covering, just so everybody's aware, we did a very focused episode last week, which did have news in it, but it was very focused news. So we missed a couple pieces last week, and then we also have some new news from this week as well. So it'll be kind of a mixture of both, just so everybody understands what's going on. So Sony is expected to release a PlayStation 5 Slim later this year, priced at $399.99, Microsoft said. Let's see. So Microsoft believes Sony will release a PlayStation 5 Slim later this year, priced at that amount, according to a court document. The document was released as part of the trial. In a paragraph on price, Microsoft attempted to convince Judge Jacqueline Scott Corley the Nintendo Switch should be considered in the same market as the Xbox Series. Sorry, I can't even take that seriously. Okay, let's see. PlayStation is likewise sells a less expensive digital edition and is expected to release a PlayStation 5 Slim later this year to reduce price point. Sony is also anticipated to release a handheld version of PlayStation 5 later this year for under $300. This is the announced Project Q, which is the handheld game streaming device. I forgot this existed already, to be honest. That wirelessly connects to the PlayStation 5. Sony has yet to announce a release date. The PlayStation 5 Slim existence doesn't come as much as a surprise. Obviously, there's always been a Slim for 2-3 generations, something like that. So nothing surprising here. Let's see. Yep, I think that's it for this. This is written by Wesley Yinpool at IGN. I don't think I'll be getting the Slim, but I'm interested to see it. What if they release Spider-Man 2 Slim PlayStation 5?
No, they've already taken, Spider-Man 2 has already taken too much of my money. I can't do double what I've already paid for that game just to have something. I'm very happy with my black PS5. It's,
I like
black
mine.
controller, black faceplate. It's pristine, beautiful. I suppose I'm glad that this is the case rather than them going for like a pro model, because I think that just by how this current console generation has played out, and not necessarily that this would exclude the potential of a pro model coming to market, but we haven't really even seen on either console, whether it's Xbox or PlayStation, any title that actually fully takes advantage of the hardware. Like the closest things would be the Sony first party stuff that we've got, Forbidden West, Ragnarok, that kind of thing. But even then, those were cross-gen. So it's like, yes, they look much better than anything on PS4, but they are literally built to run on that hardware as well. So I'm glad that they aren't pushing for like a new model of the PS5 that has even better features. It's like, well, we haven't taken advantage of the ones that we've been given to begin with yet. So what's the point? I don't know whether it's inevitable. I don't know whether it's inevitable that a pro will eventually come. Because typically you would say typically you would say yes, because they always have, especially for the past couple console
The
generations.
guesstimate was like 4 years from now is when the next consoles are gonna hit, right?
Which is why I would think if
I would say like in 2 years if they're going to, like 2
but
years
even
before
then
the
I
next
feel like
gen.
that's then too close to the next console launch. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure it would still make money. People would still buy them.
But that's kind of like what the pros are, right? Or at least in my experience is that the pro release is fairly close to the end of the cycle, and it's for people who aren't ready to jump to the next generation yet. And also just to get the money.
I guess, but even saying like 2 years, that still feels too close. Because, you know, not that it's exactly 2 years out or anything, but like around that time, you would probably start hearing sort of little
Whispers,
trickles and
rumbling.
rumors of the hardware for the PS6. Obviously, it would get like an official full reveal a year out, just under probably. But still, I think like there would be a lot of people that would be clued into the fact that we are probably closer to getting a PS6 than we are not. You know, if that makes sense. So most would probably wait, particularly again with just how this console gen has gone thus far in terms of the amount of cross-gen stuff. And
yeah, I mean, the thing is you're not wrong. It does feel weird for it to be hitting in 2 years, but at the same time, like a lot of the decisions that they make are for money rather than like, does this make sense to a consumer?
But then could the argument be made that, you know, is it better for them to do like this new slim model and then just coast that out rather than having multiple, not that they would be that different, but having multiple like SKUs of the console?
Yeah, because right now they're gonna have 3.
Exactly.
Kind of 4 with Q. Project Q.
I don't think that counts.
Yeah, I feel like it kind of counts, but
it's not a console in its own right. You have to have one of the other ones for it to work. It's not native. You're streaming.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
It's more a premium accessory than anything else.
If
it actually had like built-in hardware that could run games natively, like the Vita, rest in peace, then I guess it would be a console. But I think it is more like a peripheral. It sounds weird to say, but I think that is where it would fall in line with.
I don't think I'm going to be buying that. I'm just going to be honest.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Unless it's like, if it's under,
it would have to be really cheap for me to get it. I'm not even going to try.
If it's under 120, I'd consider it, but it's not going to be.
So that what you can like go down like go to like the dining room and play, like, I don't know, versus your room.
Listen, with my back the way it is, sometimes I need to just go lie down on my bed flat, and then I don't want to be like craning my neck at my TV, which I can't move the TV because it's hinged on the wall up there. So it's like, for convenience's sake.
Can I ask you a question?
You're probably going to anyway.
I am going to. Have you heard of the Nintendo Switch?
Yeah, but do you know what the Nintendo Switch doesn't have?
What?
PlayStation games.
No, but it has Nintendo games, which are pretty damn good.
I'm not a fan of. So it's
really?
Like, yeah. Zelda isn't for me. Mario is like, I could take it or leave it.
I'm convinced you're just a hater.
I've never liked Nintendo games. That's
crazy.
The only thing that's even potentially made me consider getting a Switch was the initial craze that started with Animal Crossing.
Oh, I love Animal Crossing so much.
Because like, not that even I don't even like those kind of games, a sort of Stardew Valley-esque type, in that vein. I'm not a fan of those games, but just the craze that was going on at the beginning of the pandemic over it.
Yeah.
I felt FOMO in a sense that I have never felt with any other Nintendo game ever. So I was like, if anything was going to get me to buy one, it would have been that, and I didn't. So
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that like the thing with like those kinds of games is like specifically like Stardew Valley and Animal Crossing. Those two games, while they are of like a certain genre, even if you don't like the genre, those games are kind of above the genre or like beside the genre because like people that don't even play those games like those games. So like I think you would have still had a great time. But
I know if I had played Animal Crossing, I would have enjoyed it. But it was just like I was thinking, well, it's quite expensive,
yeah.
particularly at that time to get one with the game. And I was like, I don't know that I'm really going to play anything else. So I was like,
Yeah.
I would be purchasing it basic. Not that I wouldn't have probably got like Odyssey, and maybe I would have got Breath of the Wild or Tears
There's
or
a bunch
whatever.
of really cool indie games on the Switch as well.
You know,
Okay. Well, my feelings are hurt, but we can move on to the next story.
this is a PlayStation podcast. Get that stuff out of here.
Yeah, but I have a Nintendo tattoo.
Branded traitor.
Don't worry. As soon as I get enough tattoos, I think I'm going to get the sacred symbols on my hands. So,
On your hands.
yeah, I think so. I haven't decided for sure yet. Either that or like on my arm right here. Something like that. So, I will have a tattoo from PlayStation at one point. It's just that like you're supposed to build down on your arms rather than up because it's weird if you just have like tattoos down here versus like up here. It's like a faux pas. So, eventually.
Interesting.
Okay.
Well, speaking of PlayStation stuff, finally, wash my mouth out.
Oh my god.
Firesprite, which is one of PlayStation's newest acquisitions, they have unveiled a brand new studio space. I'm reading from their website where they have a dedicated blog post. And they have announced that they have relocated to a new home in Liverpool's vibrant city centre. So in the good old UK, in England. Love to see it. You can't see this because I'm reading from a blog that you, viewer, cannot see unless you look it up yourself, which I recommend. Because the photos of the studio, it looks awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Like a really cool space. I guess I've technically seen studio spaces that I like more, but I think for like the kind of vibe that they're going for looks really cool. I vibe with it, you know?
Yeah, it does look really cool. And I believe I'm trying to read they have Japanese katakana on the ceiling and it's like at an angle, so I can't read what it says, but I want to.
Yeah. And I don't know if they really have sort of Japanese roots or anything.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just like a creative artistic choice, you know, which again,
This place
totally
looks so
game for.
cool. I mean, the thing is that like this looks very gaming studio versus like an office.
Yeah.
So it looks like what
Yeah.
you would think it would look like, but it does look really cool.
It is undeniably a space for creatives.
Yeah.
It's not like an executive hang space. It's very hard to quantify exactly what it is about it, but you look at it and you're like, this is either where games are made or where gamers are, or both. It's like
Yeah.
it's so hard to explain why, but it's just
If you know kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is this is exactly like my college, like the building that had like all the video game college stuff in it. It's kind of looked like stuff like this as well. So
yeah. There's not really too much to mention here because obviously it is just announcing the new studio space, which it looks quite expansive across all the photos that they have. So it's clearly suggesting that PlayStation are heavily investing in them, it seems, as they are most of their studios. We know that Insomniac and Santa Monica have had massive boosts in recent years to massive studio spaces, with the increase in team size and whatnot. But this seems to be the latest of them. The one thing I will pick out from the blog post is a quote which says as follows: "A new chapter in our story. The move to our new studio space is a significant step forward for Firesprite in helping us fulfill our vision of becoming a creative powerhouse within the PlayStation Studios family. The space has been furnished and designed to reflect our creative ambitions and studio values. It celebrates our culture and achievements and is architected to suit our technical and physical needs for future growth." And they talk about collaboration and inclusiveness being key pillars of the studio. Blah 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 blah. Love to hear it. But yeah, this is fighting talk. I like to hear this stuff. Not that they would say anything other than this, but for them to say like they are striving to be a creative powerhouse, and they have clearly been given the funding, seemingly at least in terms of a studio space, to take steps towards becoming that. They've been quite, I'm being very courteous to them, they've been quite niche thus far, making very good VR games, admittedly, but still, just VR games, at least in recent years. They did a few smaller projects before then, but they did Persistence, they did Horizon Call of the Mountain, the PSVR 2 title with Gorilla. So I don't think it says here, I have scanned through the rest of the article, I think that they are branching out from VR, not that they're necessarily going to stop doing VR titles.
Yeah, they did kind of say it was like an expansion thing.
That they are also just doing a regular AAA game. I'm just reading the end of the article because it might. No, it doesn't.
I think it said it on Twitter, if I remember.
Yeah, I definitely read it somewhere. They have sort of said that they are working on a new AAA, a brand new IP that's AAA, that seemingly isn't VR related. Technically, it could be, I suppose, but whatever. I like to see this.
Maybe it's AR related.
Maybe, Google Glass, bring it back. It was so close to succeeding last time.
I actually knew somebody that owned one.
Hey,
he was the head of the tech team at Netflix.
If I had the disposable income, I probably would have tried it out as well. I can't even blame them. But this whole Meta headset thing, AR, it's like, no, that's a bit weird for me, because then you're getting too close to Ready Player One stuff. But at least the Google
I want
Glass,
Ready Player One stuff.
I don't. I want to live in the real world. Like, that's such a dangerous, slippery slope. No.
I can't have both?
No, because then you'll just start preferring the virtual stuff. I mean, technically we all do anyway, but like you're just removing
at least we could
the
pretend
real
we
stuff
don't.
from the equation.
Okay.
At least the Google Glass kept you, for the most part, in reality, and you didn't have a massive set of goggles strapped to your face. Like it was just glasses. Anyway, off topic.
Yeah, I do want to. So there's two other things I wanted to point out from this article that I just think were really fun. So they're talking about like their space. So again, the collaboration and inclusiveness, key pillars, all that fun stuff. So they've incorporated optimum accessibility, a prayer room, neurodivergent spaces, gender neutral bathrooms, and new parent nursing areas. So my real question is I really want to see a neurodivergent space. Like, I want to see what that looks like, because that sounds cool. But it does seem like they are trying to like be inclusive. So the other thing that I wanted to point out is they go on this whole spiel about like the importance of creating a positive and productive work environment, all that fun stuff, right? They end it with, so sprites can unwind and relax throughout the working day. So they're calling their employees sprites, which is like probably, that just brings me so much joy. Like, I want to work there just so I can be a sprite. Like, that's so cute. I love it so much.
Let me tell you, when I first read this the other day, and I saw that they were in Liverpool, immediately went to look at the job listings just to see if there was something.
Just in case. Yeah.
There wasn't that I would be, skilled enough in, but I'll keep my eye out. And
Okay.
I've been looking around, just testing the waters, putting
Okay, I
some
will
feelers out.
ask one thing. If you do get a job there, can I have a photo of the neurodivergent space?
Of course,
Okay.
of
Okay.
course.
Thank you.
As
Thank
long
you.
as
That's
there's
all I
no
need.
like NDA, like this is a special
This is a
neurodivergent
special
room that we
room.
cannot expose to anybody other than employees.
I'm just like
Um,
wondering, like, is it like stuff with like textures and stuff, or is it
I
like,
would have thought so, like various
yeah,
stimuli that helps to
yeah,
calm people down,
yeah?
or keep them preoccupied if they're feeling
It's
a bit
just a
anxious,
stimming
something like that.
room.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that sounds a bit weird when you say it like that, but yeah, no, I really hope that, because that's what PlayStation in particular have been great at doing. They've been great at taking their internal first party studios and raising them to be recognized on an industry wide level by name alone. And I don't think that there are many other things outside of PlayStation where you can say that. Like, I know that technically, like Double Fine, sure, but that's not really a credit to Xbox. I wouldn't say that is Double Fine themselves before they were acquired were very much
Double Fine
renowned
and Tim
for
Schafer. Yep.
exactly, yeah.
Yep.
Like, I don't think, again, I'm not throwing shade. I just don't think that any other Xbox studio has that renown. Like 343, that even then you're getting a bit vague, I
Yeah.
think. Like,
Yeah.
if you ask people what Naughty Dog make, I think you're far more likely for them to know or list off like Last of Us or Uncharted.
I cannot believe that I've met Neil Druckmann.
Hey,
I'm still sorry, that distracted me.
yeah.
I cannot believe that I met him and shook
You
his
should
hand
you
and
should
he
have
asked
said.
me for
Do you
my
know what you should
name.
have said? You should have said, I know this really great English guy who is also an actor and would love to be in season 2 of Last of Us,
I
You
was
didn't.
barely I was barely speaking because I was shaking
Yeah.
so much. Like the whole thing, like, okay, we can talk about it later. But like the whole thing, I was already like I was like, oh my god, like Neil Druckmann's right there, and he's like so cool, and like I'm so excited, and so I just barely got out like I'm sure you hear this a lot, but like your writing is like what inspired me to be a video game writer, and like I just love your work so much. And he's like, oh, what's your name? And I was like, Brianna. He's like, oh, okay, nice to meet you. And then I like
Got
was like,
any
can we take
writing
a
jobs
picture?
available at Naughty Dog?
Oh, I don't have
Got
that kind of
any
confidence. I was panicking.
got any internships going at Naughty Dog for
Yeah.
writing? Yeah.
Are you looking for British people? Just asking for
Just
for
in
a
general.
friend.
Are you looking for a British person? Because
I
I
know
know one.
one. I
Yeah.
literally know one.
And I think that sentiment is maybe to varying degrees, but I think that is shared across Gorilla. I think that is shared with Insomniac.
Yeah.
Technically Bungie now. I know that they're kind of like a separate entity to this, but they're PlayStation first party. So I would love to see Firesprite become the next one, or one of the next ones. I think that particularly Bluepoint and Housemark both have that potential as well.
Bluepoint. Housemark was the one I was thinking of, but yeah, Bluepoint.
Yeah, I think
is
that Bluepoint, especially if their next project is something original and not a remake, I think that they could
I kind
really
of
live
want
up.
them to still do, please. We just need a couple more remakes and then they can do their own thing. Just a couple more,
No,
please.
no, no. Do you know what? I think what would be great is if they do a couple of original things now. So
No.
they jump to an original thing, and then they maybe
Split
do
the team.
another original thing, and then like I don't know, 6 years down the line,
That's too
we're
far.
like, oh, there's going to be a sequel to this original IP that they've got, and then they're like Bloodborne 2, boom, or Bloodborne remake, boom, you know.
No. Okay, wait. Okay. In this theoretical world, fine. They make their original IP. They show they can make games. Then they're like, oh, we're gonna go back to doing remakes. They do like the whole Bloodborne remake. And then they're like, we're going back to new games, but you're familiar with it, Bloodborne 2.
I think that we're getting more to stretch territory again. I'm not sure about that one, but you never know.
Yeah, you never know. No.
You're
I don't think.
right
I mean,
until you're wrong.
I think the thing is that like with them like doing like specifically like the Demon Souls remake and doing it so well, like I think they're starting to become like they have to become familiar with like From Software's work, right? So I think it's not a stretch to say that they could do a From Software-esque game. I don't think
Oh
they
yeah,
will do Bloodborne
100%.
2, but I would love to
Yeah,
see them do something like that.
I mean, obviously they were building off the groundwork, but with Demon Souls, they are at least somewhat versed in that sort of, gameplay structure
Mhm.
and whatnot. And
Yeah.
I guarantee that they will be able to communicate back and forth relatively frequently with FromSoft. So
Mhm.
I think if any studio in the industry at all has the chance or opportunity to make a Bloodborne remake or Bloodborne 2 or both, it would be Bluepoint. So
Yeah.
if we're ever going to see it, it will be from Bluepoint, I think.
I would agree. I love Bluepoint. Okay. Next we're gonna go to the PlayStation Plus monthly games for July. They came out on July 4th. We have Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, Alan Wake Remastered, boo, Endling Extinction is Forever, which I did add to my library. I haven't downloaded, but I was like, oh, Foxes and Depression, the game.
So hang on, I just want to clarify this because
Mm-hmm.
this is something I don't think that has ever been discussed here. Maybe it has, but I've forgotten because my mind's a sieve. With the monthly games, do you always redeem all of them?
No.
Why?
Why would I want to? I have zero
There is no
desire to play Call
reason
of
not
Duty.
to.
I don't want to play Call of Duty. I don't want that. I don't want that touching my library. That's my library.
But you don't have to. You don't have to download it. It's not
I
taking up
don't care.
space.
It's in my library. It's touching my library. It's cooties.
Okay, but what if a friend said to you,
I have no friends. This is already stretching into territory.
"Okay, I give up. Yeah, I'm just gonna stop."
If somebody said, "Hey, do you want to play Call of Duty with me?" I would say, "Are we even friends?"
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
I'll play first person shooters. You want to play like Overwatch 2? Fine. If you want to play like Valorant, fine. You want to play I can't even remember the name of the game. Whatever it is. Apex. Apex Legends, fine. I'll play those games. I'm not playing Call of Duty.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Okay.
I just
Or
redeem
Halo.
everything
I'll
all the
play
time
Halo. Old
because
Halo though.
you never know. You
You never
never
know.
know.
So then your library is a mess and you can never get through everything.
But you don't have to.
I'm telling you that like I can't deal with it. Like,
Fair
if
enough.
my library got too messy, there's a chance that I would literally just start a new PlayStation like account just so I didn't have to look at it. Like
I mean, for me, I have redeemed every single
oh, that's
monthly
crazy.
game since I signed up, which probably would have been
Back in my day.
like 2013, maybe
Yeah. So like 10
a
years.
little bit earlier than that. Whenever the monthly games thing started, all the way back in the day.
Yeah.
I've redeemed every single one without
That's
fail.
actually crazy. I definitely understand like your whole like what if I want to, or like what if like, you know, at some point XYZ happens. I get it. But like I just don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it's fine. That trust me, I've redeemed plenty of stuff I'm never going to touch. But it's just
The other
like
thing is
I get
like
it for free, and it's
yeah.
going to disappear, and I'm not going to get it for free. If I had to download them, of course, that would be a different issue. But
Yeah, that would be
I
terrible.
guess I'm just less of a stickler for library clutter. I don't mind. It's not an issue for me, but I'm sure it's just
Yeah.
overstimulating for you, all the different logos and splash screens and stuff.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Listen, I will delete stuff. I freak out. I'm like, this is too unorganized. This is getting deleted.
Yeah, this is
So
coming from someone who doesn't really finish games, doesn't it? So it's
I
like,
know. Why do you
yeah, I don't even know why I questioned it in the first place. Anyway, Bree, did you know
I know nothing.
that PlayStation Mobile has lost yet another top executive? I am reading from an article on VGC from Andy Robinson himself, who says that PlayStation Mobile division has lost another top executive weeks after confirmation of a change of leadership. As reported by MobileGamer.biz, Mikhail Katkov, who was the managing director of the recently acquired Savage Game Studios, has announced he's leaving the company less than a year after it was acquired by Sony. Mikhail said, quote, "I'd like to believe I've done my fair part in taking the company from 0 to 1. Now I'm eager to watch from the side as Najim and Mike, who I would assume are the new heads of the studio, take it from 1 to
Co-founding.
100.
They're co-founders.
Co-founding, there we go. Oh yeah, I see. It's further down in the article.
Yeah, I got you.
He ends by saying, in the same breath, I wish nothing but the best to Olivier Courtemarche and Chris Davis, who are leading PlayStation's charge onto mobile. Can't wait to play all the amazing games from all the fantastic developers. Says it was a relatively new studio established in 2020, and the confirmation of Katkov's exit comes just weeks after news of a leadership change at PlayStation Mobile. Nicola Sebastiani was a high-profile appointment when he joined in 2021, having previously led Apple Arcade. Over the past 2 years, SIE has quietly... What the hell just happened to the article? It's okay, an advert popped up, that's fine. SIE has quietly built a team of experienced mobile talent, hiring people from Apple, Kabam, Meta, Tencent, Super Evil, Megacorp, Samsung, Niantic, Zynga, Riot, and more. Speaking during a business briefing last year, SIE President Jim Ryan said the company expected half of its annual releases to be on PC and mobile by 2025. Jim, you got to stop saying stuff like that. Just stop it.
He just needs
Stop
to stop
making
saying
those kind of commitments. One, it's not what people want. Okay, or at least it's not what your core audience want. So you're gonna make people upset by saying that. And two, you don't know what the market is going to look like in 2 years on PC or on mobile. You know.
Mm-hmm. I think that these really high up people just say stuff though. Like when I worked at like Netflix, like Reed Hastings would just say wild stuff all the time. Like by this year, all of the content on Netflix will only be Netflix original content. And I was like, no, I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
I mean, I suppose if they're trying to make strides into a particular corner of any given market, they need to throw out some buzzwords and
Oh yeah.
saucy, spicy
Say words,
quotes,
yeah.
that kind of thing. Yeah. But yeah, I think that ultimately it will, as it often does with these kind of things, come back to bite them in the ass. Really, even if this ends up being mostly true, and it does sort of come to pass, I think you've seen it with the whole 60% of our budget going to live service thing that's already going seemingly pretty badly for them, and they haven't even put one out yet. So technically, I think that the whole PlayStation mobile side of things is less egregious and better. Again, even though we haven't seen anything from them yet, I think that that's arguably a better thing to do, because they have studios that are first party that are specifically there to do mobile games, rather than curtailing your already existing first party studios into making live service when that isn't their forte. So I think that if either of them, either of these strategies have a better chance of success, it's the mobile division, I think.
Yeah, I guess we'll see.
Mainly,
There are
I think just
some
because people are
really awesome
more
mobile games.
like tolerant of
Yeah.
mobile games. I think like it's
Yeah.
becoming less of a taboo as years go on. Like more people are playing games on their phone, whereas I think live service is going the opposite direction, where people are becoming less and less tolerant as years go on.
I don't know if it's less
So
tolerant or if the market is just already so saturated and there's no need to move.
sure, but I also think that by extension, on top of that, the whole the continuous attempts to create the next big live service that then gets shut down 6-12 months later is like, it's becoming so vapid, and so like you can already read the tea leaves for most of the live service games that are coming out these days.
That's fair.
There are maybe a couple of surprises that catch you off guard and do stick around, but most of the time you're like, yeah, it's fun, and it's got a lot of buzz for the 2 weeks around its debut, but you can kind of tell that this time next year it will either have very little support or just be cut off dead.
Yeah.
So I think that maybe, yeah, like tolerant isn't necessarily the right word, but I think that there is less I was going to say mercy, but that's not the right word either. But I guess actually no, yeah, mercy is a good word. People are more open to a new mobile game than they are to yet another attempt at a live service that ultimately is relatively generic because it's trying to appeal to a mass market. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
So
I think
sucks
there's
that
just too much money there. They're like
yeah,
so
yeah.
drawn. They're like, if this hits, this is gonna get us a lot of money.
But again, like I think that's why mobile is a better strategy, because I think
Yeah.
that as much as the mobile market is again like oversaturated for sure, I think the perception isn't quite the same, because I think that just because the market is so different to live service on a console or PC,
Yeah, that's fair.
and because really, I think what it is that with every new live service game that gets announced, they try to make as big of a splash as possible, right? Like pretty much every single one that comes out, because they aren't coming out in massive quantities, but they are in relatively numerous amounts. And every single one is trying to convey the same type of message that we're the new biggest hot thing. Whereas so many mobile games come out every single day and just go under the radar and nobody really talks about them.
Yeah, that's fair.
So if you want to make a splash, getting a proper PlayStation high quality IP, whether it's an established IP or a new one on mobile, if that hits, it can also be a cash cow like a live service, but you're far more likely to find a receptive audience, I think.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, but still sucks that seemingly the mobile division is having difficulties regardless. Still a lot of growing pains, it seems, as they try to venture into new markets.
Yeah,
It's almost as if they should just stick to what they're good at, you know? It was making the money and whatnot already.
Who would stick to what they're good at? That is
So
crazy talk.
It's always more money. It's not that we're making good
Yes.
money. It's that we need more.
Absolutely.
Makes perfect sense.
Yep. Alrighty. Well, let's move on. Speaking of making money, let's move on to this. Lord of the Rings, Gollum Studio, Daedalic, is that how you say that? Reportedly lays off 25 employees, exiting game development. The second Lord of the Rings game has been canned.
Damn it.
Dude, okay, listen, I love Lord of the Rings, but man, I'm kind of excited. I'm glad. Like,
Yeah.
okay, let's see. So, Gollum, which was announced in 2019 for release in 2021, finally arrived last month in terms of our timeline. So, 2023, following numerous setbacks and delays. Its reception was less than positive, however, with Eurogames Christian Donlan calling it, quote, a well-intentioned mess in his 1 out of 5 review. It was something of a surprise then when reports surfaced soon that Daedalic was currently working on a second Lord of the Rings game. Oh my gosh. According to German website Games Wirtschaft, what? However, that game, which has reportedly been in the works since mid 2022, is no more, with development now canceled as part of Daedalic's sudden decision to shift away from development and solely into publishing following Gollum's poor reception.
Yeah.
In a statement provided for the website, as per Google's Translate, I've reached out to Daedalic for confirmation of the news in official translation. Daedalic said 25 out of a team of more than 90 would lose their jobs as a result of the company's shift in focus. Quote, we value each and every member of our team, and it is important to us that the transition goes as smoothly as possible. Therefore, we will support our former employees in finding new opportunities within our network. This is from a company spokesperson. But that's about it. Go ahead, Sam. What were you going to say about this exciting news from Matt Wales at Eurogamer?
Just saying that it was inevitable, I think. I guess technically there could have been a timeline that exists out there in the universe that they just kept on trying, but ultimately I think this is probably for the best. It sucks to see anybody lose jobs, but yeah, like neither of us have played Gollum. We're never going to. I mean, I suppose never say never. I might do it for a joke one day.
You can do it for the platinum. Don't lie.
No, Christ, no.
Don't lie to me.
I did look because I was like, because I heard that it was somewhat short, and I was like, well, if it's ever released as a PS Plus game, would I do it? And I looked it up, and you have to do multiple playthroughs, and I don't know that I can subject myself to that. Like there are many things I will do for a platinum, Bree. You know this.
I do know this. Yeah,
but
like
that is not one of them.
Yeah,
that is not one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've seen plenty of gameplay of Gollum, and I've played some odd games. I've played some bizarre games. Very, very, very rarely have I played an objectively bad game. And often it's been an objectively bad game that is kind of like endearingly bad. If I've done it, that isn't what Gollum is. It's just bad.
You should try more of the chicken.
Again, never say never. Maybe. Oh, yeah, and also like you say, we're both fans of Lord of the Rings. I think if they did release whatever this second Lord of the Rings game was, particularly because it was even more, it was even faster of a turnaround, seemingly, because there were reports that it could have released next year, this second game. With that quick of a turnaround, I don't see it being better than Gollum. I mean, you never know. We will never know, but I doubt it. It probably would have been on par. And I don't think that the team deserve that flack that they would receive. And I don't think that the Lord of the Rings IP needs it. Lord of the Rings is an IP that still needs to be mined in terms of video games. There's so much potential out there. The old PS2 games, excellent, loved them. Some of the more recent attempts, the online stuff, the mobile stuff, not for me. But then like the Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War games, loved those. Those were great. We need more stuff in that vein, a third person action adventure.
I really enjoyed the Nemesis system in that game.
Yeah,
I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, well, they're bringing that back for the Wonder Woman game they're doing. But yes, like I think that regardless of whether the Nemesis is in there or not, I think it's a good fit for that universe. But there's so much potential there, and I don't think that sullying the sort of legacy and reputation of the IP would be worth it.
Yeah.
So sucks for those employees, sucks for Daedalic, but I think that ultimately they've made the correct choice.
I agree. Because man, oh, what a time.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready for this next one?
Yeah, I you said at the top of this is something you wanted to talk about. So do you want to read the story?
No, it's okay. You can read it.
Because I'm not going to really know what I'm talking about. I'll give it a go if
You
you're
got it.
Okay. Details and screenshots have leaked for PlayStation 5 console exclusive Rise of the Ronin via a Discord server run by the former insider, The Snitch. They feature a look at the map, a quest description, and what looks like symbols for a skill tree. This is the obviously upcoming open worldy action game from Team Ninja that has been described as a mix of Assassin's Creed, Ghost of Tsushima, and Dark Souls. It then claimed that item descriptions link into the lore fueling the wider world, which is very akin to FromSoft titles. But the design of side quests is a lot more like the Ubisoft formula. You'll be able to pick between various difficulty options. There'll be skill and technique trees. All of this seems relatively standard for games nowadays. You'll be able to choose between quality and performance. Romance options will also be a thing. And I suppose the crux of the big thing here is that seemingly the game is planned for release in Q1 of 2024. If that is the case, this article from Push Square does say that there's a good chance that we'll see more of it this year, perhaps in a state of play or another PlayStation showcase. Please, I beg to God for the latter. It was always slated to come out next year, Rise of the Ronin, but this leak does suggest that it will be within the first few months. For now, we know that the game is an open world action RPG from, again, Team Ninja, who did Neo and the recently released Wolong Fallen Dynasty.
How many teams do you think they have over there? Because Wolong just came out.
It did. Probably two, I would have thought.
Just two? Okay.
I mean, maybe more, but if the cadence is like Neo 2 into Wolong into Rise of the Ronin and then whatever the Wolong team is working on next, maybe just two. That seems to be like the standard for most studios, but there could be more. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I obviously we have both seen the I haven't watched it in quite a while, but the trailer for Rise of the Ronin that was shown at some point. I can't remember where it was shown, at a PlayStation thing. It wasn't the showcase that's just gone. It must have been a state of play last year, potentially.
Yeah, that sounds
I think that sounds right. Yeah. So we've only seen that one trailer for it, but obviously with these new leaked images that are available via the
State
article.
of play September 2022.
Yeah. I remember it looking cool.
Mm-hmm.
I think I need to see more to see how it differentiates itself. You know, because a Ubisoft Assassin's Creed thing set in feudal Japan. That's just Ghost of Tsushima. So like, show me what this game's USP is.
Yeah, but here's my thing. And I'm not saying it can't happen, but Team Ninja hasn't had a flop.
No, that's correct.
So it's probably going to be
I have faith that it'll be good. It's just I want to see the thing that will hook me in.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I imagine it will be something that I end up playing at some point, regardless. I'll probably end up covering it for IGN. Probably that's probably how
I
this
was
is going to
thinking
work.
that I wasn't going to say it.
You know, if that is the case, then I would neither confirm nor deny. I don't know yet. But
You don't get assigned that far in advance about a game that you don't even know the release date of?
Most definitely not. No.
Oh, that's crazy.
Who would have guessed?
Who'd have known?
But yeah, like I from what I've seen thus far, I don't know that it will be a day one for me. I think that's sort of the sentiment I'm getting at.
Okay, fair enough. Alrighty, ready for this next one?
Do it.
Okay, let me get the time code. Okay, so Naraka Bladepoint is going to be free to play starting July 13th. So in a couple days here. And it will also be available on PlayStation 5. They're doing a couple of things. So for people that have already purchased Naraka, your account, I believe, is not transferable. You can play across multiple from what it seems. So you should be able to just play on the PlayStation 5. Like, for example, I bought it on the PC. If you have purchased things previously, they're going to offer you, let's see, depending on the edition of Naraka that you purchased, you receive a set amount of gold, and all editions receive the same items. So you'll receive 1,960 gold for standard edition, 3,360 gold for deluxe, and 4,960 for ultimate. In addition to that, all editions will receive an exclusive avatar, another exclusive Viper Ning outfit, and 10 glorious chest choice gifts. Just some interesting things. They've just posted this on their website. It's coming to PlayStation 5 on the same day. You don't have to have a PlayStation Plus account to play, but it will enhance your experience. Yeah, just if you haven't played this game, I highly recommend it actually. It's a really interesting game. So it's a MOBA, but like Chinese mythology kind of MOBA, and like swords and fists and stuff like that. So it's pretty fun, especially now that it's going to be free to play, and it's stunning, or at least it is on the PC. It's absolutely stunning. So why not? Why not play it?
I won't be, but
You're right, because you would never add a free to play game to your library.
hey, what? No. There is a distinct difference between the free monthly games that are only free for a limited time and all free to play games.
I know.
Yeah, like it's just never. Which is obviously the main hurdle.
For some reason, I thought you played Fortnite.
No, well, I mean, I've dipped my toe in for some of the work I do at IGN, but I don't play it consistently at all. You know, if it's like the start of a new season and there's lots of new things that need like how-tos and things like that, I'll often cover that, but I don't play it like in my free time.
What free time?
Well, exactly. Yeah, so like I'm just not. I'm not a big multiplayer person in general.
Yeah.
But this game in particular just has never appealed to me. I've seen it quite a few times. But
I'm terrible at it, but it's fun.
Everything aesthetically and in terms of how the combat presents itself looks like it would appeal to me. But it's something that I know in my soul I'm never going to play, you know?
Yeah.
Which is it's just how it folds out sometimes.
It's just how the cookie crumbles, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
But hey, free to play on PS5 for people. That's great.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be free to play for everybody. They're transitioning to free to play.
Yes,
where it was like a purchase game. So
yeah.
Yep. So you get cool stuff. I'm gonna at least log in now that they're like transitioning to free to play, so I can at least get my items. You know what I mean? So okay, you ready?
The final story of the day.
The last melon.
Is that an Ice Age reference?
Yeah.
I'm both confused and disappointed that I got that. Final Fantasy XVI's first post-launch update has arrived, and it implements a highly requested feature: the option to turn off motion blur.
Guess what I'm doing?
A new toggle in the settings menu will let players make the PlayStation 5 game look less dizzying, which is a boon to everyone with motion sickness. Motion blur can be useful.
But it can also look like ass. I love that.
Yeah, I'm not. It's just like there's a little spice thrown into this article we don't need to cover. Version 1.03 of the game went live on PS5 on July 5th, introducing the toggle. When I'm talking about Final Fantasy 16, I almost say toggle. Like I have to specifically look at that word and say toggle. That lets players dial motion blur down all the way from default level of 5 to 0 should they wish.
0. I'll either put it at 1 or 0.
Also introduces options to turn off automated camera repositioning, another big thing I think for some people, and 3 more alternative button configurations.
Why do they not just let people map their own controller? That's my real question.
Sure, but I think that with the way that like the iconic abilities work specifically, I think that in particular, those need to work a very specific way. Like I think you kind of need technically you could like remap them to like the D-pad instead of the face buttons, but I think you would still need the toggle from one of the triggers to go into that sub menu of the UI to then use the abilities. So I think that they're just,
you can still set limitations while allowing players to choose their own controls.
Sure, but at least in the absence of that, of free, complete freedom, they are introducing multiple other configurations. I actually, for my second playthrough, I did use a different configuration to the default, and found myself having a better time actually.
I tried switching to the other one, and I freaked. I couldn't figure it out. I was like, "Oh my god!" Because Taylor was like, "Oh, this other one's way better."
Everything pretty much stays the same, but you toggle between, I think if I remember correctly, you toggle between your icons with triangle and the it's one of the, I think it's L1 or maybe not, maybe L2, because wait, what toggles your icons normally?
L2.
Anyway, it switches because triangle is usually on default. It's your magic where you fire out your projectiles. It switches that with with L2, which is the icon switch button on default. It switches those two round, so that, because if you're trying to use, if you're like mashing square for like a basic sword combo and you're trying to get in the timed projectile blast towards the end of that combo to get the full combo, you kind of have to like crab claw your hand a little bit on the controllers to keep mashing.
Don't you worry, I'm used to the claw hand, especially
so
with
am
Dark Souls
I.
games,
So am I. Absolutely, so am I. But to be able to like have that free, where you're not having to sort of have two fingers over two separate buttons on the face buttons, and you can just hit L2 whenever you want in the middle of a combo, it's much easier. There is like
Yeah.
the growing pains, particularly
Mhm.
because I did the other way for the entire first playthrough. But I
Mhm.
think once you get into the swing of it, that
Yeah.
other
I
configuration might be
swapped
better.
between A and B because Taylor was saying B was what he was using, and when
Right.
I tried to switch, because those are wildly different control schemes,
Yeah, yeah.
it broke my brain. I was like, nope, it's not worth it at this point. I went right back to A.
Yeah. C
So,
is the one that I think I jumped to.
mm,
And if A is working for you, if the default is working for you, don't worry. But
yeah, I
and
might just leave
it
it.
worked for me, to clarify. Like I didn't have an issue with the controls the first playthrough, but I was like, I've heard some people saying that C is better, and then I tried it and I saw the potential. So I
Yeah,
powered through the sort of growing pains phase, and now that's if I go back, I'll be using that control scheme.
yeah. I have to say, okay, so I want to, so with the motion blur stuff with Final Fantasy 16. So one weird, it does not make me motion sick, which usually motion blur will just like absolutely take me out, wreck me, like I'm done. I can't play for more than a couple hours. So this game doesn't give me motion sickness, which is nice. So I'm not getting sick, but I do at times feel like I'm going cross-eyed with the motion blur because like my brain is trying to process like all of the information going by,
Hmm.
and I like can't, like my eyes like start hurting because I'm like, what's happening? So I will be turning off the motion blur,
There you
or
go.
at least I'll be turning it very low. But it's not because of motion sickness for once. It is because of my eyeballs, which I've never experienced before. But
There
here
you
we
go.
are. Alrighty, well, we made it through the news, you guys. I think we went on. Do you have anything you want to do for Limitless? Or are you okay?
There's a couple of things that I've percolated, but I guess it would probably be better to do them with Taylor here, because otherwise I'd have to like rehash it, and
You should have him
it's
send it
mainly
on.
just like a question that I
Oh,
think it has an interesting answer coming from
oh,
all of us. But I mean, I can ask you it, and
sure.
then I'll just ask Taylor it again.
Okay, sure.
I mean, it would technically be putting you on the spot,
That's
but
fine.
that's fine. Because I've sort of been wondering, the whole like, is this the best year of games ever? That kind of thing.
Hmm.
Actually, what do you agree with that?
That this is the best year of games?
Yeah,
No,
really.
really. And I'm not saying it's a bad year of games. Like I just want to be very, very clear. But like last year was like my year of games.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think
But
in
like,
terms of
okay,
like how
so like
many
into
games are coming out, and in terms
yeah,
of like the quality of games that are coming out, is as like an industry whole, I think that this is a fantastic year of gaming, and this could be considered like, oh, this is like this gen's like year of gaming or whatever, right? So like I understand like in terms of like the quality of content and the like the quantity of content, like I understand that like saying that like this is the year of gaming kind of thing, right? But like in terms of like the games that I'm looking for, the games that I love, like Elden Ring, God of War, like those games coming out in the same year was like that was it for me, you know?
so
So,
for you, personal preference, it's
yes.
not, but in terms of general,
General audience, yes.
yeah, yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah, I think I suppose a case could be made for me to pick other years in terms of personal preference, but again, me saying like Final Fantasy 16 is probably going to end up being my favorite game. It's like, well, that
This has to
coupled with
be.
everything else,
Yeah.
it's like I'm not sure there's an argument for me. I think it just is. It's going to end up being, um, even though
Yeah.
most of the games that have come out this year that are critically acclaimed and beloved, I'm not going to play, or I don't care about. Tears of the Kingdom, Diablo. Uh,
But even not playing those, it's like it's easy to understand
that's
like
what. Yeah, that's what I'm
how
getting at.
crazy
Like,
those games are,
yeah.
all being in this
Um,
one year.
Armored Core. I mean, I play Armored Core, obviously.
I will be
Like
playing hardcore.
a mainline Street Fighter, a mainline Mortal Kombat, Alan Wake, a new
Resident
Mario
Evil,
game, Resident
Silent
Evil
Hill.
remake, Dead Space remake, Star Wars, Hogwarts Legacy, Final Fantasy 16, Starfield, Spider-Man 2. like Pikmin for
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty wild.
I
Anyway,
think that it's partially because of like the pandemic though, right? Like I don't think that this year would have just like naturally happened on its own.
I don't think so, not to the degree that it seems to be coming together, but yeah, like I think this still would have been a great year,
Yeah, absolutely.
but the sort of backlog of the pandemic, the final deluge of that clog is sort of coming out this year, it seems.
Gross.
The actual question I wanted to ask
Uh-huh.
is, you can pick from any previous PlayStation console generation, but what would be your chosen hidden gem
Like
that basically
game or
nobody knows about,
generation?
but that you love?
Wait, game or generation?
Game.
Okay.
Because I mean, there's not really a hidden gem of a console generation, you know.
Yeah, that's why I was like, wait, that question doesn't make sense if it's generation. Okay, yeah.
But yes, I meant
Um,
pick a game. It can be from any PlayStation console generation
hmm, that's a really
that
good
you
question.
think is like significantly under the radar and is worthy of being shouted out.
Yeah. Let me look up one game really quick and see. I don't know what this game is on. Yes, it is. Okay. Um my game, and I'm not saying that this is like my favorite game or like the best game I've ever played or anything like that, but like I don't understand how this like game isn't talked about more. Um there's a game called Wander Song, and it's like a puzzle adventure game that you play as a bard. And I remember when I first started playing that game, I like was crying like because the game made me so happy and it was just so beautiful and like it's so bizarre. Like it's such a bizarre game. It's so beautiful. It is just such a hidden gem, and I have never played anything quite like it. So that's
Oh,
that's going to be my pick. To
puzzle
gather pieces
adventure.
of song to save the world from destruction. Yeah, you just like play this like silly bard and everything's like rainbow and very colorful, and like you just go sing songs and like and have these like
Interesting.
really weird quests, and yeah. Yeah. That would be my pick. What's your pick?
Nice. I was going to say just like a joke answer and be like resistance,
I
but
haven't played
you
that,
know
so that would be an
that's
answer.
just my heart. Although I do think it is still underrated, even though it is beloved by many people. Please bring back resistance, for the love of God. I'll take anything. I'll take a remaster of the trilogy. I'll do whatever. My actual pick, though, is it got pretty good reviews at the time.
Mhm.
But I have never heard of any one single person ever talk about this game other than me. And I don't mean just amongst friends. I just mean in general. I have never
Okay.
seen in any content anywhere people talk about this game. See, if you go looking for it, I could find it. But it's never once been mentioned. It is called Spartan Total Warrior, which is a hack and slash. It's kind of
Oh,
similar
it's
to
old.
the original God of Wars, originally on PS2, um, and it's made by Creative Assembly, who do the Total War, the RTS games. So it's a really big divergence away from what they're normally known for.
Mhm.
This is technically a spin-off, but it's not even slightly related. It's a completely original story and whatnot. It's I don't know. As a history nerd, I still am, but particularly when I was a younger kid, early teens, I was particularly
Oh.
into Greek history.
Mhm.
Um, and there wasn't really many games outside of like the God of Wars, but that's exaggerated. And not that Spartan Total Warrior isn't either, but it's a bit more of a grounded approach. there was just something about that game. Like, I cannot tell you the amount of times I played Spartan Total Warrior from start to finish. It's the kind of thing where I wish, if anything was to get like a remaster or a remake, this would never get it. But I would, if you talk about like a unicorn game that would make you lose your mind at a reveal in a showcase, above all else, it would be this. It just holds such a special place in my heart, and it seems like nobody really knows about it, which is fair. Like, it's relatively unremarkable in the grand scheme of things, but it did really large scale battles. Like, it played into Greek mythology in a similar way to God of War, but was more grounded. It was just great. I highly recommend people just go and look up a little bit of gameplay, and you'll probably look at it and you'll be like, this looks like ass. And you wouldn't necessarily be wrong. But above all else, that was the game that I consistently returned to throughout my childhood and sort of early teen years. Even when I had a PS3, this would be something I'd go back to and play on PS2.
Yeah, I think it's a little old at this point, but it does look interesting. And yeah, I just looked. I was like, "Is like how old is this game?" It's like, I think it said like 2005. So
yeah, 2005.
Yeah,
That's nearly 20 years ago, Bree.
that is disgusting. I know you're trying to make me feel old.
I feel old saying that. There's not much of a difference.
I know. I'm so much older than you.
That's just, again, factually incorrect.
As of right now, in terms of years, I'm 2 years older than you. That's not how actual time works, but in terms of years.
Okay, but even with that clarification, I think you've just made more of an argument against your initial statement, because 2 isn't really that many years.
No, I'm so old. No, it's fine. I'm actually not. But, well, I think this was a fun conversation. One of the games you can play and one of them you can't.
Yeah.
Actually, you might be able to like emulate it, but
you probably can. Put it.
I wouldn't.
PlayStation, for the love of God, put Spartan Total Warrior into the PlayStation catalog.
The premium.
I will never ask for anything ever again. Actually, that's a lie. I will bring back Resistance, but
what if they give you Resistance and that goes on premium? Do you get some sort of Resistance remaster? Are you done asking for things?
Bree, I will die happy on the spot. That's my life over. I'm done.
On the spot, you pass away.
Yep. Everything I could have ever asked for, it's over. It's done.
You don't even play it. You just
No. I see it and I'm like, my job is done.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, if anybody plays Wandersong, let me know. You can play it on PlayStation 4, Switch, PC. It's right now. Steam's having the summer sale. It's on sale for like $6. So
there you go.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, we'll let you guys go, but thanks for hanging out with us. It was a lot of fun. And yeah, you can find us at youtube.com/SaveTheGameMedia, and don't forget to check out the Discord if you want to hang out, and don't forget to follow us on Patreon. $1, please. Not even like at this point, it's like I don't even want the money. I just want Kevin to have a tattoo on his butt.
Just make like 900
1,000 accounts,
however many Smurf accounts, and just pledge $1.
See, but I can't even get you to pledge $1.
I'm not going to fund this insane goal. It's just I am not going to endorse it. I can't. The taint that will be in my brain,
pun intended,
for the rest of my life. Wrap up the episode, Bree. Wrap up the episode.
Where can people find you?
People can find me for, again, potentially the very short-term future on Twitter at Samheaney, Heaney.
You can find me at Fabulous Brianna, FabulistBrianna. And you can find Taylor in the Discord if you want to. He wasn't here this episode, but in spirit, he was here with us. So, alrighty. Have a good week, guys. We'll chat with you next week. Bye.
Bye.